All right, let's dive into something called Total Quality Management, or TQM for short. Now, this isn't just another boring business buzzword. It's actually a complete game changer, a philosophy for taking your workplace from, well, constant chaos to a state of real, sustainable excellence. So, let's see how it all works.
Does this feel familiar? Your entire day is just bouncing from one crisis to the next. You're constantly putting out fires, you never feel like you're actually getting ahead. So many of us feel this way, but here's the thing. It's not normal. It's a symptom that the system itself is broken. And TQM, well, TQM is the way out.
Okay, so this slide really nails the huge shift in thinking. Over on the left, you've got that reactive firefighting mode we were just talking about, where things go wrong, we point fingers, and we only catch mistakes at the very end. But look at the right. That's the TQM way. It's proactive. It's all about focusing on the process to stop defects from even happening in the first place. You're not just fixing what's broken, you're building a system that doesn't break. So, how do we actually build this new way of thinking? Well, like any strong structure, it all rests on a rock-solid foundation. Let's take a look at the 4 essential pillars that hold up the entire TQM philosophy.
And here they are, the big 4. First, everything, and I mean everything, revolves around the customer. Second, there's a deep commitment to continuous improvement, also known as Kaizen. Third, you've got to have total employee involvement. Everyone's in the game. And finally, you take a process-oriented approach to your work. The big takeaway here? With these in place, quality isn't just some department's job anymore, it's everyone's job.
Now, that second pillar, Kaizen, is so important we need to spend a second on it. This concept is the heart and soul of TQM. It's not about some huge, dramatic overhaul that disrupts everything. No. Kaizen is about making small, consistent improvements every single day. We're talking 1% changes. It might not sound like much, but over time, those tiny changes compound into absolutely massive results.
I absolutely love this analogy because it's so true. You can't just declare a culture of quality and expect it to magically appear. You have to build it, piece by piece, just like a house. It starts with a foundation of trust, where people feel safe. The bricks are your practical tools, like training and teamwork. Communication is the mortar that holds it all together. And recognition, that's the roof, protecting and reinforcing everything you've built.
All right, so we've got the big ideas, the philosophy. But what about the how? How do you actually do this stuff on a Tuesday afternoon? Well, that's where the toolkit comes in. Let's get our hands dirty and look at the specific tools that make all this change actually happen.
First up, the engine that drives all of this improvement, the PDCA cycle. Plan, do, check, act. It's basically the scientific method for your business. No more guessing games. You plan a change based on what you think will work, you do a small test, you check the data to see what really happened, and then you act on what you learned, either by rolling out the change or by starting the cycle over with a new plan.
Okay, but to make a good plan, you have to know what the real problem is, right? This is where we need to be detectives. The 5 whys technique looks simple, but wow, is it powerful. When a problem happens, you don't just fix the symptom. You ask, why did that happen? And then you ask why again, and again, usually about 5 times, until you've dug down past all the surface-level stuff to find the true root cause.
So you found the root causes, and, surprise, there are a bunch of them. Where on earth do you start? Well, that's where the Pareto principle, you might know it as the 80-20 rule, is a lifesaver. The idea is simple but profound. Most of your headaches, probably about 80% of them, are caused by just a few key problems, maybe 20% of the total causes. The trick is to find that vital few.
And this chart is exactly how you visualize that. It's called a Pareto chart, and it makes it crystal clear where to focus. You see that huge bar on the left? Cause A? That's your biggest problem. Instead of wasting energy on all those little issues on the right, you focus your efforts right here. You solve the big one, and you get the biggest bang for your buck. So you see how all these tools fit together? It's not just a random collection. It's a complete system. You use Pareto to figure out what to work on, the 5 whys to find the root of the problem, and the PDCA cycle to test and implement a real lasting solution. It's structured, it's smart, and it's driven by data, not drama. Okay, this might all seem like a lot, maybe a little overwhelming, but the good news is you don't have to boil the ocean overnight. TQM is a journey, so let's walk through a practical 3-phase plan for how an organization can actually get started. But hold on. Before you even think about starting, you have to get these things right. Honestly, this is where most companies fall flat.
It has to start with visible commitment from the very top. You need a blame-free culture where people feel safe to point out problems, and you absolutely need a long-term perspective. If you don't have these cultural pieces in place, the whole thing will crumble. They are the real secret sauce.
So, the journey itself isn't a mad dash. It's more like a marathon with clear stages. First, you spend a few months building the foundation, training your leaders, forming teams. Then comes the critical second phase. You launch small pilot projects to get some early, visible wins. This builds momentum and shows everyone, hey, this stuff actually works. And finally, phase 3 is ongoing. It's where TQM stops feeling like a project and just becomes the new normal.
And that brings us to the real endgame here. The ultimate goal of total quality management isn't to run a program. It's to get to a point where you don't even talk about it anymore. It's just how you work. TQM isn't something you do. It's something your organization becomes.
There's a great quote from one of the pioneers of quality, Philip Crosby, that just sums it all up. Quality is free. Think about that for a second. What he means is, what really costs your company money are all the unquality things. The rework, the wasted materials, the customer complaints, all the time spent fighting firing. Getting it right the first time isn't an expense, it's the smartest investment you can make.
So, after all this, what does it really come down to? It comes right back to that simple, powerful idea of Kaizen, of small, continuous steps. You don't have to overhaul the entire company tomorrow. The journey starts with one step. So I'll leave you with this question. What is the one tiny thing, the one small improvement that you or your team can start on today?